I do stand by my original statement, though, that there's a brand of more radical feminism that insists that our culture is best characterized as an oppressive patriarchy, and I think that, first of all, that's an appalling sociological doctrine.
But that's a straw man, because no one says there's anything toxic about masculinity per se.
What do you mean no one says that? The
use...
term exists.
No, they...
How is that a straw man? Well, where did the term come from?
It's a phrase that's used about forms of masculinity.
There's something toxic, let's say, about masculinity per se. What that will inevitably mean is that as women adopt more masculine roles, traditionally, what is that toxicity somehow going to go away?
Ever wonder why some people lose their minds when Jordan Peterson speaks? It's like he's got a secret power to make feminists go crazy. But here's the thing, it's not magic, it's logic. In this video, we're gonna see Peterson take on a woke feminist who thinks she's got him cornered. Spoiler alert, she doesn't. You'll see exactly how he breaks down her arguments and leaves her scrambling for answers. It's not just about winning an argument, it's about exposing the flaws in woke thinking. So this feminist walks into the debate thinking she's gonna teach Jordan Peterson a lesson. Boy, was she in for a surprise. She starts throwing around words like equality and oppression like they're going out of style. You know the type. Acting all high and mighty, thinking they've got it all figured out. But Peterson's not falling for it. He's seen this song and dance before, and he's not about to let her get away with it. He starts breaking down why this whole equality of outcome thing is a disaster waiting to happen. It's not just about giving everyone the same stuff, you know. Peterson drops this bomb. Turns out, the more equal a society gets, the bigger the differences between men and women.
The most profound commentators on such battle have always concluded that the fundamental line is drawn in the human soul. And if you don't think that's enough to keep you busy, that just means you haven't looked inside with enough, courage and perspicacity, voluntarily, consciously, and wisely, or we're going to be beat to death by our own stupidity. And that's going to happen quickly in many, many ways.
Yeah, you heard that right. It's like the more freedom people have to choose, the more they choose different things. Who would have thought? He starts talking about these Scandinavian countries, right? They're supposed to be like the poster children for equality, but get this, they've got some of the biggest gaps between what men and women do for work. It's not because someone's forcing them, it's because when you let people choose, they pick different things. And the feminist's trying to argue, but she's starting to look like a deer in headlights. Peterson's just laying out fact after fact, and she's got nothing. It's like watching a house of cards fall apart in slow motion. By the end of it, she's scrambling to make sense of anything. She's throwing out random arguments, trying to change the subject, doing anything to avoid admitting she might be wrong. Meanwhile, Peterson's just sitting there cool as can be. He's heard it all before, and he's not even breaking a sweat. It's pretty clear who won this round. The feminist walked in thinking she was gonna school Peterson, but she ended up getting a lesson herself. Turns out feelings aren't facts, no matter how much you want them to be. But Peterson's just getting started. You know how people say men are from Mars and women are from Venus? Well, turns out there's more to it than just a catchy saying.
100% preoccupied with the most pathological possible political narrative, which is essentially a victim-victimizer story in terms of who's got the power, who's the oppressed. And there's nothing in that but an endless recipe for, I can't imagine, this is something that possesses the universities as well, there's nothing more toxic than a victim-victimized narrative. And that certainly possesses the radical left in particular to the nth degree.
Peterson's got the facts to back it up. And trust me, they're not what you'd expect. He's on fire now, throwing out studies and statistics like it's nobody's business. The feminist tries to jump in, but Peterson's not having it. He's got a point to make, and he's gonna make it. So here's the deal. Men and women make different choices. Shocking, right? But get this. It's not because of some shadowy patriarchy pulling the strings. It's biology, plain and simple. Peterson breaks it down, talking about how our brains are wired differently. It's not about better or worse, just different. Now, about that wage gap everyone's always yapping about, Peterson's got some news for you. It's not what the woke crowd wants you to believe. He explains how women often choose careers that pay less but offer more flexibility. And guess what? That's not a bad thing. It's just a different priority. Peterson's not saying discrimination doesn't exist. He's just pointing out that it's not the whole story. There's more to it than just men are evil oppressors. He talks about how most men and women are actually pretty similar with just some average differences. differences, but those small differences can add up to big gaps when you look at the extremes. By the time Peterson's done, the feminist argument is in pieces. She's stuttering, trying to change the subject. Classic move when you're losing. Am I right? She's throwing out random buzzwords, hoping something will stick. But Peterson's not letting her off the hook. It's almost painful to watch. The feminist came in thinking she had it all figured out, and now she's scrambling. Peterson's just calmly laying out the facts, and she's got nothing. It's like watching a pro wrestler take on a toddler. You almost feel bad for her. Almost. Just when you thought the feminist couldn't get more flustered, Peterson drops a truth bomb that'll make your head spin. Ever wonder why so many young guys are giving the middle finger to progressive ideas these days? It's not what you think, and Peterson's explanation might just change how you see the whole oppressor versus oppressed narratives. Peterson's not pulling any punches now. He's got a bone to pick with the woke crowd, and he's letting them have it. He says the left's using guilt like it's going out of style, trying to manipulate people into buying their BS. And you know who's falling for it? Conservatives, of all people. Peterson says they're just too nice, always ready to feel bad about stuff. But here's where it gets really good. Peterson talks about how young men are starting to wake up and smell the coffee. They're not buying the progressive nonsense anymore. It's not because they're suddenly turning into right-wing nuts or anything. Nah, they're just sick and tired of being told they're the bad guys all the time. The feminist tries to play the victim card, but Peterson's not having any of it. He's like, hold up, this whole victim mentality is messing up our young people. He says it's making them resentful and envious instead of being grateful for what they've got. I mean, can you blame them? Who wants to be told they're an oppressor 24/7? Peterson's on a roll now. He's saying that all this talk about privilege and oppression is just a load of crap. It's not about fixing real problems. It's just a way for some people to act like they're better than everyone else. And you know what? It's backfiring big time. The best part? People are starting to see through the woke mob's tricks. They're realizing that all this guilt tripping isn't helping anyone. It's just pushing people away, especially young folks who are looking for something real in their lives. By the end of Peterson's rant, the feminist looks like she's about to lose it. She can't handle the truth, I guess. It's like watching someone realize their whole worldview is built on sand. Pretty brutal, but hey, sometimes the truth hurts. So the feminist is looking shook, but here's where it gets real. Ever wonder why some people seem to have it all together while others are always playing the blame game? Peterson's got an answer that might surprise you, and it's not what the woke crowd wants you to hear. Peterson starts talking about personal responsibility, and I swear the feminist looks like she's seen a ghost. It's like the concept is totally alien to her. Peterson's not pulling any punches. He's saying that blaming everything on the system is just a cop-out. It's like, yeah, the world's not perfect, but come on, you gotta take some responsibility for your own life. Here's the kicker. Peterson says taking responsibility can actually make your life better. Who knew, right? It's not just about feeling guilty or whatever. It's about realizing you've got the power to change things. The feminist tries to argue, but Peterson's got an answer for everything. He's like a walking encyclopedia of common sense. Peterson's dropping truth bombs left and right. He's talking about how embracing responsibility can lead to greater self-regard and more opportunities in life. It's not just about feeling good, it's about actually doing better. The feminist looks like she's about to short circuit. Guess the truth hurts sometimes. But here's where it gets really interesting. Peterson starts giving examples of people who've taken responsibility and found success. He's not talking about billionaires or anything, just regular folks who decided to stop blaming others and start working on themselves. And get this, he says this approach can restore competence and confidence in young people. It's like a secret weapon against all that woke nonsense. By the end of Peterson's spiel, even some of the audience is nodding along. You can see it in their faces. They're thinking, hey, maybe this guy's on to something. The feminist is looking pretty deflated now. It's like watching someone realize their whole worldview is built on quicksand. Peterson wraps it up by saying we need to focus more on responsibilities than rights. He's not saying rights aren't important, just that every right comes with a responsibility. It's about growing up and realizing the world doesn't owe you anything. Pretty hard pill to swallow for some people, I guess. So Peterson wraps it up, and man, you could hear a pin drop. He's not just winning an argument, he's blowing minds. He looks straight at the audience and says, don't let anyone tell you what to think. Question everything, especially the woke narrative. The feminist's just sitting there, mouth open like a fish out of water. You can see it in people's faces. They're not just nodding along, they're waking up. It's like watching light bulbs go off one by one. Peterson's not just talking about politics or gender stuff. He's challenging how we think about everything. The crowd's reaction? It's wild. People are standing up, clapping, some are even cheering. It's not just about Peterson winning a debate, it's about logic winning the day. And you know what? It feels pretty damn good.